You guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would do an Empties that was specifically for the ordinary skincare because I'll probably never be able to do just an ordinary skincare Empties again, but because I was trying so many products, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about at least 10 products here that are Empties or fails. And then I thought what I'd also do is show you the things that I was still yet to make a decision on or yet to use, and I know I need to do a kind of updated skincare routine. So what I'll include in this is the update on the alpha lipoic acid and the salicylic acid. I think that was the only things. No, what I had done is I had switched the Adlai Acid to, instead of using it on my chin, to using it on my pores, and I was using the salicylic acid on my chin, I think. But I stopped using both of those because of that little dry skin episode. And so, yeah, I'll give you an update on all of those as we go along and on the things that I have used up or I'm just not going to use. So let's start with the tubes first. And some of these you may already have heard me talk about as being a fail, but I thought it was worth going over it. So the first thing I've got here is the vitamin C suspension. So I haven't used very much of this. I just can't get this to work in any way for me on my face. So I think I'm going to use this on my hand, but it's just, I think it's absolutely fine on my hand. I've just put some on it, just, I don't know, let me show you again what it's like, just in case you don't know what the solution is like. It's quite a thin, runny thing, but it feels very grainy because it has got powder in it. And it just stings my face. It completely stings my face. No matter what I mix it in with, it stings. And so for that reason, I don't use it at all on my face. But I struggle to remember to use things on my hands. So I'm keeping this until I decide what to do with it, if you like. And I need to watch my own video and go, okay, which thing is it best for me? I might use it. I've got a scar and I might use it on that. But like I said, it's just remembering to actually use it. Next is the Adlai Acid, and I'll talk about this with the Salicylic Acid because I was using these two. I was using the Adlai Acid on my chin and the Salicylic Acid on my pores. So seeing if the Salicylic Acid made a difference on my pores and the Adlai on those little white bumps under my chin. I think it was that way I started anyway. I did that update video for you, and from memory there was a slight difference on my chin, but not very much, and there was no difference on my pores. So I decided to switch them round and use the Azelaic, I think, then on this bit and this on my pores. I can't remember, like I said, which way round it was. But I stopped using them, one, because this one is an actual empty. This is the Lahic Acid and it is empty. But the Salicylic Acid, I just felt dried my skin out because, do you remember I had that little dry patch? And so I wanted to stop anything that could be drying, because I just, not only in that little patch, but on my face in general, like around my eyes, and I just felt like I was getting dry skin all of a sudden, and I wanted to remedy that. So I stopped using these. And I have to say, I have used Salicylic Acid in the past, and it should be, you know, on paper it's the one I should use because it breaks through oil, and I have oily skin, I have acne prone skin, but I have never found it of benefit. And so this, I'm not going to introduce this back anytime soon. But yeah, the update on this is it's not, I just don't think it's for my skin. I've never found any benefit. If anything, I've found that it just dries my skin out too much. So I'm not going to use that. The Adlai Acid, I'm not sure. I would love to repurchase this because I love the feeling of it as a product. I know that a lot of people have had problems with peeling with this. I never got that with this at all. I really, really enjoyed this and would be very tempted to buy it again. But what I do enjoy, and I am going to use going forward, is the Lactic Acid. Because that one, I felt like really made my skin feel soft, and I didn't get any dryness with that at all. And that is the one that's recommended for dry skin. So, you know, I think I've said before, I'm in a period of where my skin is changing, and definitely I had gone from very oily to oily. And I think then I was kind of normal oily, and maybe now my skin is getting more towards the dry end, with still having oil breakthrough. I don't know. I'm kind of I feel like I'm always in a transition period. So I might well reintroduce this. I'll see how I feel when I've used up my lactic acid, but I did really enjoy this. Final product in a tube is the retinol, and you may be able to see I've written hump day on there. And the reason for that is when I started using it, I thought, right, I don't want to use it every night. I'll use it once a week and see how I get on. And I used it on a Saturday night. And then I quickly decided I wanted to use it twice a week. And I started using it on, I thought, how can I remember when to use it? And I thought, well, if I remember hump day, and then I'll remember that I use it on a Saturday night and on hump day. So that's why I put that on there. And then do you remember that I was using it on my neck? And I think I very briefly tried it around my eyes. But I then went mad with it and used it, I don't know, 3 nights in a row or something ridiculous, and had that horrible breakout on my neck when I went away on holiday. If you saw me on Snapchat, you'll have seen, I'll see if I can still got some pictures, because I did take a picture of it, because it was just horrendous. It was just looked awful. I don't think it ever looks as bad in photos as when you can see it in person, but it was very red raised bumps all over my neck. It looked pretty awful. So this is a fail for me. Now, it was me that failed. It was definitely user error that gave me that reaction. But retinol as a product is not as strong as a retinoid, and I don't have the same reaction to retinoids. So I would prefer to use retinoids than I would to use a retinol, because only using this twice a week wasn't such a big problem. I did have some redness though using it twice a week, but it just would be such minimal results because of retinol not being as strong as a retinoid. So the next thing I'm going to use is the Differin. I'm going to try Differin on my neck and see how I get on with that, and report back to you guys on that. And what I'll do is I'll do another skincare routine and talk you through exactly when I'm using what products and what I'm testing for you. So that's the retinol. What will I show you the clear bottles next? So here I've got the Buffet. Buffet is completely empty. I really enjoyed using this, but I don't have a desire to have peptides, particularly in my skincare regime. There's not enough evidence out there for me. There's nothing. It just would be an extra. And like I said, I enjoyed using it, and I have got the Matrixyl, which is a peptide. Saying that, the argireline is a peptide as well, and that I do think is working for me, so maybe that will change my mind. But I'm going to use the Matrixyl. I've got a full bottle of that. I haven't used that. I think I've used it once or twice just to try it out. So I will use the Matrixyl in and see if I can incorporate that into my routine, but I wouldn't repurchase the Buffet. I just wouldn't. It's nice, but I didn't feel like it did anything amazing. Then I've got the Hyaluronic Acid, and this is almost empty. It's down to about there. And I quite enjoyed this. I've had other hyaluronic acids. Funny enough, one of them I had was from Deciem. It was sold in Boots. I'm sure it's a Deciem company. It's called Hylamide. And I had their hyaluronic acid, and I'm pretty sure that one felt a bit nicer than this. But I don't know, just as an ingredient, it's not something I ever feel an immediate benefit from or a long-term benefit from. It's just one of those products that doesn't ever feel that nice going on. I always use it because of its function, not because it's enjoyable to use or because my skin feels amazing afterwards. I use it just because I know that it will, bring moisture to my skin. Sorry, just notice you can see that. If you're wondering what this is, it's not. I've not got a strange colour bra on. It's kinesio tape. Where I've been going to the gym, I've made my neck hurt. So my conclusion on the hyaluronic acid is it's not a repurchase for me at the moment. I'm going to keep it for that little amount that's there, because do you remember I did that emergency dry skin treatment? I used it then, and I would use it again if I had really dry skin, like an outbreak like I did there of really dry skin. I would definitely use it then, but I don't think I need to use it every day as part of my regime. I'd prefer to perhaps find things that had it in it, because there are a lot of products that have hyaluronic acid in them. So it's not a repurchase for me, but I enjoyed it okay. Okay, Lipoic Acid. This is only up to there. So I have not finished this, and unfortunately I'm not finishing the trial of it. I used it for a month and a half. It was coming up to the point where I would have been using it for 2 months. The 2 month point was on, I think, the 2nd of July. That's when it would have been 2 months. And so I've stopped it 2 or 3 weeks early. And that, it's weird because this is one that when I gave you my first impressions of it, I really enjoyed that warming feeling on my skin. I didn't find that it dried my skin out at all, except for I had one tiny little patch here that kind of felt a little bit burnt, and I suspected it may have been this. Anyway, I have been using this twice a week, the same as I was my retinol. I've been using it on a Wednesday night and a Saturday night, because you're not supposed to use it more than that. And I've been using it neat, and I've been using it on my face and neck. And I just have been noticing that my neck looks not necessarily drier, as in not flaky skin, but it looks more dehydrated. It looks like if you bunch your skin up and it looks kind of crepey. That's what it's like. If I look to the side and look in a mirror, I can see that there's parts of my neck that look more crepey. And I was like, well, let me have a look at the pictures. Let me take a picture and have a look at the pictures. So having a look at the pictures, my skin on my neck actually looks worse than it did before I started using this. And this, I haven't been using any retinol on my neck. I haven't been using my differin. The only thing I've been using is the advanced 2% retinoid, which you guys know, I think is very, very weak. It's an ester, and I honestly don't think that would have any bearing on that at all, because I was using that before and didn't have that difference. So my report back on this is I'm not really sure, but I don't want to continue using it for the moment, because I do think that it's making the situation worse, and I'd like to not use it for at least a month and then see what happens. I think this is something that I would like to put a couple of drops of this into another product, but again, I'm not sure what yet. I know a lot of you were quite keen on me doing a video about mixing products, but there were a couple of comments left on when I said about the alternatives for everything. There were a lot of comments where I said about mixing two products together, saying, like, for example, putting a couple of drops into this into a body lotion, etc., saying, things are formulated in a certain way at certain pHs, etc., etc., and that maybe mixing them would change that. And that's a good point. It's something that would need to be really thoroughly researched and really well thought through. So I don't know about that. So again, I'm going to keep this bottle, but at the moment for me, it's a bit of a fail, because I feel like as well, the more I use it, it's going from a warming sensation to almost feeling like a little bit stingy, which would suggest that my skin is becoming sensitized to it as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a fail for me at the moment, but I am going to keep it because I may well use it in the future. Then talking about the Retinoid Cream, this is the advanced 2% retinoid. I don't think I've got any left on this, maybe a few drops. Yeah, there's a couple of drops in there. That's what it's like, just a nice milky liquid. I really like this. This is my second bottle of this, and you guys know I've really enjoyed it, but I've got a feeling that I've enjoyed it because, one, because it's a retinoid ester, so it's not as strong as a retinoid. Two, because I believe it's a very weak retinoid ester, and three, because of the dimethyl isosorbide that is mixed with it, which is a skin conditioner. And I think that's what I'm enjoying about it, but I just feel like there's obviously more research needs to be done on the ingredient. The hydroxypinaclone retinoate is a retinoid ester, and it is a new exciting ingredient, but I'd like to see more research. And for now, I'd like to use something that is more proven, which is a retinoid. So I'll be using differin and or a tretinoin cream. But I do really like this, and I will kind of miss having this in, because this, I could almost use this as a product, as a moisturiser, and not put anything on top, because it's so lovely to put on. It doesn't make my skin feel tight or anything like that, and nothing seems to pill with it, it doesn't ball up. And yeah, it's just, I really like the feeling of it. It's just, like I said, to me, when I think about the efficacy of it, it feels pointless. I'd rather be using an actual retinoid. So that's not a repurchase for me at the moment, but never say never. Next is the vitamin F, and this is really interesting. And the great thing about me doing YouTube is, somebody left me a comment once saying you buy loads of things you don't need, and Kev and I, my husband, were talking about that and saying, well, what do we actually need in life? What you need are, very basic clothes, shelter, and very basic nutrition. You don't need any kind of alcohol, you don't need any kind of treats, any sweet foods, you don't need a full big wardrobe, a handbag, makeup. We don't really need anything, but I do buy a lot of things that I wouldn't buy if I wasn't on YouTube. And it's not, I feel like YouTube gives me that excuse, if you like, to try different things. And so with The Ordinary, I certainly would not have been trying all of the products if it wasn't for the fact that I was on YouTube and wanted to review them. But what can happen with that is I can find gems that I would never have tried before, and this is one of them. I don't think I would ever have ordered this vitamin F ascorbyl tetracypalmitate. It's a vitamin C derivative. I don't think I would have ever bothered with this because it's an oily substance and I didn't think I would like it, but I love it. I really love it. I'm so sad that it's gone. Oh, again, there seems to be a few drops. I'm going to be putting tons on my hands. They're going to look amazing after this. Yeah, there's a couple of drops left, but that's it. And I have been using this, again, I didn't think this would be happening. I've been using this in the morning before putting on my SPF, and it really works well under makeup. I started off using it because my skin was dry. I was going through that dry skin period, but I've ended up just enjoying it so much and not finding that it makes any difference to my foundation or anything like that. You know, it doesn't feel oily, it really absorbs immediately. And yeah, I really enjoy it, but I think from memory this might be one of their more expensive derivatives. And the top has suddenly malfunctioned on me. It won't properly fit, it just keeps popping, and that's kind of annoying. But I might well reorder this. I'm going to have a look at what products I want to reorder today, and I might order either this or the MAP. I don't have the MAP bottle to show you because I did finish using that and I did really enjoy that. The MAP is the magnesium ascorbyl palmitate, I think. That's a vitamin C derivative that I really did enjoy as well. And just the fact that that one's in a tube is a little bit more convenient than this being in a dropper. And so if this one is expensive and the MAP one is more like The Ordinary, like most of the products, you know, £5 or £6, I'll probably go for the MAP, to be honest, but I did really like that. Okay, just two more products in the empties and fails, and then I just want to quickly show you the things that I am still using. This is in my fails pile. This is the ascorbyl glucoside at 12%. Where am I up to on that? Well, I've nearly finished it anyway, it's up to there. This is another vitamin C derivative, and I have been trying to use this in the morning underneath my SPF, and it just makes everything pill and ball up. It's horrible. I don't know whether you guys have had that same experience, and I thought it might have been the products I was using, so I've switched up the products I'm using, the SPF products I'm using, and it's only this and an SPF is all I use, but whichever SPF I've used, this balls up, so it's definitely this. I did start off using it in the evening, and I think that it's beneficial to use vitamin C morning and evening. And in fact, what I might do is get the vitamin F and the MAP and use one in the evening and one in the morning. But the other thing is, in the evening, I've got quite a few other things I'd like to try, and I really don't want to be using 3 or 4 products, because then you are still lessening the effect of one. You know, I'd like to just be using a couple of products. But this one is a complete fail for me, so I would not recommend this ascorbyl glucoside, simply because it balls up. But otherwise it feels okay. I've been trying to wait a long time as well, like letting it completely dry, which takes a long time. It's a clear, kind of like the hyaluronic acid is what it looks like. But when it's on your skin, you can feel that it's tacky, but it just takes a long while to actually get completely dry. And I thought that might be the solution, but even that didn't work. I waited for it to completely dry, put my SPF on, and it still balled up. So that is a total fail. Last but not least is Rosehip Oil. And this has been a real journey because there's hardly anything left in this. This is an Empties. There is a couple of drops left in there, which I'm not going to tip out because of the smell, which has been the part of the journey that's so interesting, because you may remember that I had bought Rosehip oils in the past and literally never used them. I even bought the Trilogy one, but because as soon as I opened them, they would smell of fish. And I knew that these were popular and great oils, but every time I got one, and I would say I tried about 4 or 5, they smelt like fish. And I was like, I can't use that on my skin. And I sent one to my mum. I sent the Trilogy one to my mum. And I remember she said, I don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't smell like fish. And there was a small discussion with us. I said in one video that somebody had suggested that if it smelled like fish, it was off. And I still to this day get comments on whatever video that was that I said it smelled like fish, saying that yours must be off. But I've looked into it and I don't believe that to be the case. My conclusion is nothing to do with it being off or otherwise. There's 2 pointers here. Firstly, the person that said they thought mine might be off the first time said it because she had bought one by, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's another popular rosehip oil. But when I actually looked into that, that was taken from the fruit as opposed to this being taken from the seed. I think that's the right way round. If not, it's the other way round. But either way, they were taken from different parts of the rosehip. And it was known that the other one smelt more fruity because she had said, yours must be off, I've got a rosehip oil and this is what it smells like. But that one that she was talking about was from a different part of the rosehip and was known to smell more fruity. So that's one pointer. But the other thing that I think is more important is that a lot of people have said about this rosehip oil from The Ordinary that it doesn't smell like fish. And when I get my husband to smell it, he doesn't smell fish on it at all. And so I think that is just down to receptors in our noses. We all smell things differently. And unfortunately, all I get from it is fish. Now, as I started using it, I was determined to get past it with this because I know that the argan oil smelled a bit funny to me at first, but I got past it and it suddenly stopped smelling. That happened with this. I started using it and I suddenly couldn't smell it at all. But just the last few weeks, I literally only finished this a few days ago, I'd be like, what can I smell that smells like fish? And it was on my hands where I had, rubbed it into my face. And so somehow the smell is coming back to me. I don't know why. It could just be to do with time of the month or something. I just don't know. I know we smell things differently. Women smell things differently depending on the time of the month. So that would be my number one reason why I wouldn't repurchase it. But if you put that aside, I would be concerned about repurchasing because of the shelf life. I'd like to use something that is a bit more stable, but I love the feeling of it. It really is a lovely feeling oil. It made my skin feel wonderful, and so from that side of things it was really good. So I think that's just about personal choice and personal smell, isn't it? Okay, that's everything from my empties and fails. I've then got 5 products here that I've still got and am intending to use, and I've also got one in my skincare bag. I think the only item I'm using on a regular basis at the moment is argireline. I'm still using that around my eyes and I can't wait to see the results when either the bottle runs out or I get to, I think it's the 3rd month, isn't it? Because the 1st month I didn't see anything. By month 2 I could see a difference in my crow's feet, and so we'll see what happens at month 3. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think that is only in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to take the photos and give you an update on that. And it seems like it's going to last until then as well. So I've got that in my bag, and then here I've got a few other things. I've got the Argan Oil and I've got the Squalane. I know that I love the Argan Oil. This is my favourite oil from The Ordinary. This is the one that, funny enough, this smelt like cow pat. Yeah, it smells like it now to me, which somehow I don't find as disgusting as the smell of fish. Maybe that's because I spend more time out in nature now with Watson, but it does have that smell, but it goes away as soon as I start using it. I only notice it for a night or two. But why am I not using this? I might actually put this in my bag and start using this because I don't think I've got another oil other than the watermelon oil. But the watermelon, from what I can find out so far, is more stable. So I would like to use up my unstable oils just now because I don't want them sitting around. So I'll probably use the Argan Oil next, and I know that I love that. And I've also got the Squalane. Now the Squalane is a very stable oil, so I'm not worried about using this quickly. And I don't think I'm going to love this. I think this is one I'm going to have to try to love because I have used it a few times and it's one of those dry feeling oils. And from what you guys are commenting back to me, it's really effective, and you've been using it. A lot of you have been using it for a while, not necessarily from The Ordinary. And it's really worked well for you, and a lot of people use it on eyes and lips, funny enough. So I really need to experiment with that, but because it's one of the more stable oils, I'm not in a rush to test that out, but I will use it. Then I've got this is the AHA 30%, BHA 2%. This is the mask. I've barely used this because I haven't felt, I would use this if I had breakouts. and I used it just to test it out, didn't I, a couple of times when I was putting the salicylic acid on, and to see if it would make any difference to my pores. But I've said before, I think my pores are open because of age. I don't think that I've got open pores because they're blocked, because I actually, when I was younger, didn't have any problems with open pores at all. I remember my sister always talked about she had a problem with it, and I used to think, oh God, I hope that never happens to me. And at the time I did have problems with acne, and I still didn't have large pores around here, and now I do. So I definitely do think it's age for me and loss of elasticity as opposed to them being blocked. So I'm not sure that this would be any help with that, but I'm keeping it because, again, I might use it for other things that I mentioned in the other uses video, and I would use it if I had any kind of acne breakout or really bad oiliness. I would maybe use this as a mask and see how I got on. So I'm not getting rid of that one. Then I've got the Matrixyl that I mentioned. I haven't, well, it's up to there. I've used it a couple of times. Feels just like the buffet to me, and I'd like to use this in a way that I can, do before and after pictures and see if there's any difference, but I'm just not quite sure what I'd be testing it on, because it's known to be a good anti-ager, but I suppose I would be looking at crow's feet and whatnot, so I'll need to wait until I finish that bottle of Giraline and then incorporate this in, I think, or maybe use this on my neck. But I'm keen to start using retinoid on my neck, so I don't ever want to be using 2 products and complicating things, or too many products. I could probably use 2. But I don't know how I'm going to fit this in yet, but I am, of course, going to use that. Don't have any problem with it. I've got the lactic acid still. That's in my drawer there. I am going to use that. And this is the niacin, which, again, I would really like to now use this in this area and see how this affects my pores, because this is supposed to be very good for pores. And I'm not sure of its action, of how that works, whether that is working to unclog pores or whether it's working in some other way to change the appearance of them. So yeah, I might incorporate this into my kind of T-zone, if you like, and see how I get on. And I think this is pretty good for kind of acne scars as well. So it probably would be sort of here and my chin I would use this, but I will do an updated skincare routine once I figure out how to put these all together, how I'm going to use them exactly. And I do like the niacin, no problems with this, but it does ball up. And so I think I need to find ways to use it that it's not going to cause me a problem with that, because there's nothing worse than putting all your skincare on and then I can't resist sitting. I'm sitting there doing it and Kev's like, oh, what are you doing? So you've got skin coming off. I'm like, it's not skin, it's product. But then it's like, well, you're taking half the product off that you've just put on, so I can't remember how badly it does that. This is my 2nd bottle, so I should remember. But anyway, that's everything. I think we're all in this journey together, aren't we, with the Ordinary skincare, in that a lot of us bought a lot of products. Some people were a bit more reserved and a bit more sensible and have been watching reviews and waiting to decide which product to buy. But yeah, I think a lot of us did just buy a whole bunch of products and are now sort of whittling it down a bit. And I'm definitely getting it down to the ones that I know I like and that I know I want to use going forward. But I'm also still in the testing phase with a lot of them, because there's 20 odd products, wasn't there, that I bought. So yeah, I need to do that updated skincare routine for you once I've figured it out myself. I hope that this was useful for you. Let me know what you are loving still. I'd love to know what people are still enjoying, because again, a lot of people raved about The Ordinary when it came out, but more recently I've heard a couple of people that are not so enamoured with them. Like they've changed their mind and they were like, oh, I loved it at first, but now I don't think they do anything. And I hope that that's not people making a rash judgment, that are maybe using things for a couple of months and not seeing any results, because there are products from them that will take a lot longer than that to show results, and there are other things that you may not see results for years. And I don't know what people's reasons are for not loving The Ordinary so much, but it's only been a couple, so I'm interested what your opinion is. Are you still loving The Ordinary skincare? What are you still loving? And if you're not loving The Ordinary, who do you use for your skincare? I know that a lot of people buy the now, what are they called? Niod, N-I-O-D, and I have been asked to review a couple of products from there, but to be honest, they're just a bit out of my league budget wise, because I think they are like £20-30, if not more, and so that's a lot of money to spend on a product that you then might not continue using because you don't like it. Or I don't mind that if you can test a product, but it's not something, as far as I know, that's sold in Boots or Space NK or anywhere, so I can't test it. Maybe I should have a look at what their refund policy is, because it would be good if we were a bit more like the USA and, you know, or Sephora, and you could return things if they didn't work out for you. Anyway, that's everything. I will list all of my makeup in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.